They have been a subject of many movies, shows and conspiracy theories, but no one has been able to say for sure whether they really exist or not. What are they, you ask? They are the evasive aliens. Learn about mysterious UFO sightings around the world. Discover ancient hieroglyphs, sculptures and crop circles that point towards the existence of these bewildering beings. Uncover the dark secrets of the much talked about Area 51 and military bases around the world. While most believe that aliens have visited Earth, evidence to support this theory is essential. And that's what we aim to do with these series of videos that we've lined up for you. We will help you arrive at a definitive conclusion to this famous question: do aliens exist or not? When are aliens going to get in touch? The human race is really eager to hear from aliens. We've thrown dozens of missions into space in an attempt to further our reach and to see what's outside our solar system, but as yet we've had absolutely no response. We've even created an organisation called SETI, which stands for the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, in order to scour the universe for stray signals and communications from advanced civilization. So why aren't they texting back? Well, you have to appreciate, first of all, just how big the universe is. If you grab a penny and you put it on the ground in front of you, imagine that that penny represents our star, the Sun. If that's the case, then the next nearest star, Alpha Centauri, would be 350 miles away. The same distance from Newcastle to Brighton, or Milan to Rome, or just a quick pop to the shops in Australia. At this scale, our galaxy, the Milky Way, would still be 7.5 million miles across. Remember, the Sun is literally the size of a penny in this model, and that's 30 times the actual distance between Earth and the Moon, and this is without even getting into the size of the universe as a whole. Given this scale, it's no surprise that whatever neighbours we have aren't exactly next door. After all, that our universe is believed to be around 14 billion years old. It contains over 1 billion trillion stars. That's 21 zeros, and is still growing. The universe is expanding at various rates depending on where you look, which means our neighbours might even be moving further away from us as we just try to reach them. It could simply be a question of geography. One of the most famous aspects of the search for ET is the Fermi paradox, named after its creator Enrico Fermi, who in 1950 asked the seemingly simple question, where is everyone? His line of thinking was that given the Milky Way is 10 billion years old and 100,000 light years across, meaning light takes 100,000 years to travel from one side to the other, if another civilization had invented space travel that could reach even 1% of the speed of light, they surely would have colonised our entire solar system 100,000 times over. So surely the fact that they haven't tells us nobody's there. Our home planet, Earth, is actually a very special planet, and not just because it's where we live, it's what we call the Goldilocks planet. Not too close to the sun, not too far away, but just the right distance to provide the right level of warmth and radiation to encourage the growth of life. A life-sustaining planet would also require water and an atmosphere balanced in such a way to support oxygen-breathing life forms and of the right density and thickness to protect the surface of the planet from harmful radiation, which in turn requires the planet to be of a certain size and mass, and with a relatively balanced orbit and rotation to provide a relatively consistent amount of light and heat to a large part of the surface. Some planets can spin very slowly and some go around very quickly. Some only have one side of the planet facing their sun at any given time. So there's a huge number of factors to take into account when you think about a planet that could sustain life. And we also need to consider time as an important part of communication. As I've said, our universe is very old and it's still growing. Humans have existed on Earth for a few 100,000 years, and we only invented the radio in the last 100 years. And if we're holding out hope to hear the call of another species, we're working on the assumption that not only are they intelligent, not only are they broadcasting, but also that they started broadcasting hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. The invention of broadcasting technology also brings with it the creation of other powerful technologies like nuclear energy, and comes along with a global warming and possibly overpopulation and the exhaustion of natural resources. So it's possible that only a few generations after developing the necessary technology, a civilization could have wiped itself out through disaster, natural or otherwise. It's worth considering the sad possibility that there is advanced life out there in the universe, that they've seen us and simply don't want to talk to us, like a nuisance caller that you just let go to voicemail until they leave you alone. Anyway, That's some fascinating information for you about the search of extraterrestrial life. If you know of any other key information on this subject, please let us know in the comments section. Otherwise, we'll see you again soon for more exciting science. Bye for now.
Our planet Earth is a beautiful example of life. We have humans, animals, reptiles, insects and plants. Do you think there's any other planet like ours that has life? Do you think aliens exist? Welcome to YouCurious, and today we'll be looking at the top pieces of evidence that prove aliens exist. 10. Ancient evidence of aliens in cave paintings. The 10,000-year-old rock paintings found in the Kerala region of India depict spooky, faceless aliens and an antennaed object that looks just like what we now see as a UFO. 9. The UFO painting and art history aliens. During the Renaissance, eerie UFO shapes popped up in works of art on several occasions. This is the Madonna with Saint Giovannini, also known as the UFO painting, most likely painted by Italian Renaissance artist Domenico Ghirlandaio from around the 15th century. 8. The Nazca Lines. The Nazca Lines located in southern Peru are a collection of over 10,000 lines etched into desert sands. They form around 300 geoglyphs of various images depicting animals, figures, and plants. What's truly incredible about those geoglyphs is their sheer scale, some of which stretch over more than 9 kilometers and measure 30 meters wide. Due to their sheer scale, many consider that these Nazca lines must have been created from an aerial point of view, insinuating that aliens must have been responsible. 7. Crop circles. We've all heard of crop circles, and most would consider them to be a pretty modern phenomenon. However, the first publicly recorded crop circle was way back in 1678 in Scotland, which came to be known as the Devil's Circle. Crop circles are often large and complicated in their design, and they tend to be found in fields of wheat or corn where the stalks are bent into sophisticated shapes. 6. Foo Fighters. No, not the band. Surely you must have wondered where they got their name from, right? Well, Foo Fighter was a term used by Allied aircraft pilots during World War II to describe strange aerial sightings believed to be UFOs in various accounts. They were described as glowing fiery lights speeding through the air, or sometimes quite close to the ground. Researchers have suggested that Foo Fighters can be explained as electrostatic or electromagnetic phenomena. However, there are no conclusive accounts as to what these sightings were, and the cases remain a mystery to the present day. 5. Physical evidence. There are such things as trace cases or close encounters of the second kind, what's defined in UFOlogy as instances where there is physical interaction with a UFO. This might be a landing mark, damaged vegetation, or weird residues. There are somewhere between 3,500 and 5,000 trace cases. As with anything UFO related, often these trace cases can be debunked as hoaxes, but some, to this day, still prove very difficult to explain. 4. Project Sign. Project Sign was an official study under the United States Air Force put in place to investigate UFOs. It ran from 1948 to 1949, but was kept secret for years. The investigations undertaken by the project were intended to debunk speculations that UFOs had extraterrestrial origins. But of the nearly 13,000 sightings that were studied, 701 of them simply couldn't be chalked up to weird weather or man-made objects. In the end, the government simply had to classify these as unidentified. 3. Area 51. Area 51 has been the subject of many conspiracy theories over the years, mainly due to the controlled secrecy surrounding it. It was used to design and build military fighter jets and drones. However, conspiracies still persist regarding its alleged use as an alien research center. But why Area 51? It would be of no surprise for any government to have a research center for extraterrestrial life, and the extremely controlled site in the Nevada desert makes it the perfect place for such alien research to happen. 2. Martians are our neighbors. When we think of aliens, very often we think of Martians, our nearby neighbors from the planet Mars. The main reason we look towards Mars for extraterrestrial life is because it's the closest to our own planet with a somewhat similar environment. The main similarity being that there was once water on Mars. Recent evidence shows that approximately 4.5 billion years ago, 1/5 of the planet was covered in water. In 2017, the Curiosity rover detected the presence of boron on Mars, and boron is something that's considered an essential ingredient for life. 1. The Drake equation. US astronomer Frank Drake developed an equation to estimate the number of planets that were capable of hosting life and also capable of communicating with us. In 1961, he put together this equation looking at 7 key factors, including how many stars have solar systems, the formation rate of those stars, the number of planets that could support life, and how many of those planets could form intelligent life. The figures used are debatable, but Drake calculated there to be approximately 10,000 possible intelligent species in our universe. Looking at everything together, there's not much concrete proof to really prove that aliens exist. However, I think you'll agree there's more than enough there to pique our curiosity.
This is Earth, and it's where we live. Earth is in our solar system, and in our solar system there are 8 planets, 5 dwarf planets, and 173 known moons. Our solar system is within the galaxy known as the Milky Way. There are 200 billion solar systems inside our galaxy. And now, here's the really big fact, guys. In our universe, there are an estimated 100 billion galaxies. Even if there were only one Earth-like planet in every 5 solar systems, there would still be at least 4,000 billion Earth-like planets out there in our universe capable of supporting life. Now, what I'm trying to say, guys, is that the odds of there being life somewhere else in the universe are actually pretty high. The debate amongst scientists isn't, is there life, but what might that life look like? And obviously, in movies and TV throughout the years, we've gotten used to seeing little grey men with massive heads, a little bit like that guy. But who's to say that that representation is correct? Life on other planets will have evolved in line with what the environment of that planet is like. So, a lot would come down to the chemistry, the biology, and the physics of that specific planet. We tend to only imagine alien life to look like us, or something like us, because we've only got ourselves and life on Earth to compare it to. What we can do is look at some examples of evolution from our own planet, and then think about how that might apply to alien life. Using a little bit of imagination, we can come up with some pretty wacky ideas. What's really interesting is all life on Earth, me, you, the trees, the birds, all came from single-celled organisms. And these single-celled organisms fused with other single-cell organisms to create multicellular life. Then over millions of years, this evolved to create the amazingly diverse ecosystem that surrounds us today. So if we apply this to an alien life form, the physiology could be completely different depending on how long that life has had to evolve. They might have 5 arms, 7 legs, eyes in the back of their heads, no noses. On that fascinating note, it's time to bid this topic farewell. After all, we'll never really know what alien life looks like until we come face to face with it. And let's be honest, that day is some way off. Way, way off. Or maybe not. What do you consider important? Money? Property? Documents? Information? How about secrets? And especially government secrets. Yes, there are government-owned special secret areas where groundbreaking scientific discoveries are made, cutting-edge aircrafts are manufactured, and aliens are studied. Yes, you guessed it right. We're talking about America's top-secret military base, Area 51. Is it a mystery? Or is it a conspiracy? You curious? Area 51 is the common name of a highly classified United States Air Force facility located in the Nevada Test and Training Range. The concept of Area 51 started after the end of World War II. In the ensuing Cold War, the Soviet Union lowered the Iron Curtain, thereby creating a near-intelligence blockade for America and its European allies. America, worried about the USSR's technological intentions and its ability to launch nuclear attacks, was desperate to gather Soviet intelligence. However, in the absence of spy satellites in the early 1950s, the US Navy and Air Force were compelled to send low-flying aircrafts over the USSR. The aircrafts equipped with huge cameras were at an easy risk to be shot down, making the reconnaissance missions extremely risky. Finally, in November 1954, President Eisenhower approved the U-2 program, which later came to be known as Project Aquatone. The goal of this project was to create an aircraft that could fly at high altitudes, over 70,000 feet, and also collect intelligence. As it was a top-secret program, they chose a remote, covert location for testing and training the aircraft near a salt flat known as the Groom Lake in the southern Nevada desert, whose map designation was known as, yes, you were right, Area 51. Even today, surrounded by mountains and well hidden in the deep, Area 51 is a secret military installation that serves as a military test facility for various aircrafts and spy planes. As opposed to normal aeroplanes that fly at a range of 10,000 to 20,000 feet and military aircrafts at 40,000 feet, Area 51 became famous for housing the inventions of special aircraft that could fly higher than 60,000 feet. Lockheed U-2. Nicknamed the Dragon Lady, Lockheed U-2 was invented in 1955. It is a high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft with a single jet engine and capable of flying at a range of 70,000 feet. It's operated by the United States Air Force and Central Intelligence Agency as an all-weather aircraft. Flying night and day, it is used for gathering intelligence. Lockheed SR-71. Known as the Blackbird, Lockheed SR-71 is a long-range, high-altitude strategic reconnaissance aircraft, or spy plane, invented in 1964 with a flying range of 85,000 feet. Isn't that cool? Lockheed D-21. It is known as the American Supersonic Reconnaissance Drone and was invented in 1969. The drone has a maximum speed of 2,200 miles per hour and can fly at an operational altitude of 90,000 feet! Amazing! Lockheed Have Blue 1001. Lockheed Have Blue 1001 is the code name for Lockheed's demonstrator for stealth bombers. Invented in 1977, it's especially made for stealth attacks on targets. Awesome, right? Lockheed F-117 Nighthawk. Lockheed F-117 Nighthawk is a retired American single-seat, twin-engine stealth attack aircraft. Invented in 1981, it was commonly referred to as the Stealth Fighter. It is strictly a ground attack aircraft. Great stuff, right? But what else makes the Area 51 unique and mysterious? Let's find out. UFO or not a UFO? Since 1955, there have been various UFO sightings around Area 51. As a result, the whole world started observing the movements around Area 51 to know more about the aliens and their sightings. The UFO sightings were described as bright lights in the sky or shiny objects. Though some people genuinely believe them to be UFOs and alien spaceships, these were probably military aircraft such as the U-2 that were being tested. In order to maintain the secret nature of the happenings at Area 51, the government termed these sightings as natural phenomena. What's the weather like today? It is also widely believed that the scientists at Area 51 are manipulating weather patterns. Far-fetched? Unthinkable? Perhaps not. The rumours stated that weather scientists had indeed figured a way to control the weather. Yeah, sounds like a cool science fiction movie. In 1994, the government allegedly found ways to control a hurricane. From 1962 to 1983, the government also conducted a project called the Storm Theory, where they used silver iodide to weaken the furious cyclones. Whoa! Alien interrogation room? In 1989, a former employee of Area 51 by the name of Bob Lazar claimed that he had seen aliens during his time there. In an interview, Lazar mentioned that it is a secret base where aliens are captured and interrogated to better understand their origins and home planets. Messages received? In 1997, a radio program, Coast to Coast AM, got a call from a former employee of Area 51. He was sobbing and sounded scared. He said that they had communicated with aliens who had threatened to destroy Earth. What's in a name? Out of all the mysteries, though, we still don't know why this secret base was given the name Area 51. One theory stated that the name stems from the location's proximity to nuclear test sites that were divided into numerically designated areas, and this one was numbered 51. Caught you! It is almost next to impossible to sneak into Area 51 without being caught. The use of deadly force is authorised if anyone ever tries to evade security. Known for its intense nature of secrecy, Area 51 is of course heavily guarded. The land is patrolled by camo dudes at all times, keeping an eye on pesky civilians who try to break in. Look up in the sky! It's a bird! It's a plane! It's Superman! No, it's a UFO! UFO? That's right. Over the years, the various people who claimed to have spotted these mysterious UFOs must have thought exactly like this. UFO. An identified flying object was first coined in 1952 by a US Air Force officer, Edward Ruppelt. Even before it was called a UFO, it was quite well known as a flying saucer. Some have said that it looked like a small new moon, others a very big red glowing ball. Many described it as a slow-moving giant floating egg, while several proclaimed it to be a noiseless, mysterious disc. You curious? Well, we bring to you the 7 most mysterious, yet almost true sightings of UFOs in the world. The Tennessee College Campus, 1853. As the day dawned on the 1st of June in the year of 1853, students at Burritt College in Tennessee noticed 2 luminous, unusual objects just to the north of the rising sun. One looked like a small new moon, while the other looked like a large star. The first one slowly grew smaller until it was no longer visible, but the second one grew larger and formed a globular shape. Professor A.C. Carnes, who interviewed the students and reported their sighting to Scientific American, wrote, "The first then became visible again and increased rapidly in size, while the other diminished, and the 2 spots kept changing for about half an hour. There was considerable wind at that time, and light fleecy clouds passed by, showing the lights to be confined to one place." Oh, wow! Whatever that was, it sure did shake the students of the Burritt College. Aliens sure do have a way of greeting people good morning, don't they? Wilmington, Delaware, 1860. On July the 13th, 1860, a pale blue light engulfed the city of Wilmington, Delaware. Residents looking up into the evening sky were surprised to see its source, a 200-foot-long something streaking along on a level course 100 feet above. That's not all. There was a trail behind it at 100-foot intervals that cruised 3 very red and glowing balls, and a 4th that abruptly joined the other 3 after shooting out from the rear of the main object, which was giving off sparkles after the manner of a rocket. Pretty cool sky show, huh? Texas, 1897. On April the 17th, 1897, the residents of Aurora, a small town in Texas, saw an aircraft early in the morning. It seemed to have appeared out of nowhere, made loud noises, and then crashed into a windmill. Whoa, whoa! The UFO is said to have hit a windmill on the property of a judge by the name of J.S. Proctor. The debris of the crash was spread over several acres, and the body of the pilot, which was badly disfigured, definitely did not seem like an inhabitant of this world. Crazy, right? Hopewell Junction, New York, 1983. Hopewell Junction, June 1983. The residents heard a humming sound. Within moments, it was clear to all of them that the hovering above them was from something resembling a huge disc. They reported that it had a width comprising of about 16 houses, that it literally covered Jefferson Park. Of course, being dark, it was difficult to discern its exact features. One thing that spooked all of them was that it was silent as a tomb as it hovered over them. A strange-looking disc and no noise. Scary. After a few minutes, the craft began humming again, turned, and just like that, left at an incredible speed. Mysterious, huh? Stadio Artemio Franchi, Florence, Italy, 1954. It is well known that everyone loves football. Surprise, surprise, aliens do too. So much so that one time they came to Earth just to see a match. That's right, on October the 27th, 1954, a crowd of around 10,000 people had gathered to watch a football match. All of a sudden, the stadium was flooded with dazzling lights from a UFO. During mid-game, a roar went up from the crowd. The spectators were interested in something else. They were looking up at the bright, shiny thing floating in the sky. Many of the eyewitnesses say that it was something that looked like an egg moving slowly in the sky. That must have been an incredible sight and match indeed. Roa, Africa, 1994. Attention! The next class is the Aliens class. School of Aliens, anyone? Yes, this almost happened in Roa, Africa, 1994. The children from the aerial school saw 3 shining balls moving around the sky. When asked about the aliens, the kids said that the aliens had made eye-to-eye contact and communicated to them about the state of the world. They had asked what the people were doing on the planet and about the destruction they were causing. Whoa, that seems like a tough lesson, doesn't it? Some kids were pretty traumatized. Chicago O'Hare, 2006. November the 7th, 2006, several employees and travellers at the Chicago O'Hare Airport saw a weird saucer-shaped metallic aircraft in the sky. Witnesses described the object as extremely silent, somewhere between 6 and 24 feet in diameter and dark grey in colour. They saw the disc-shaped craft hovering over the airport and were sure it was not a cloud. The object shot through the sky at high velocity, leaving a clear blue hole in the cloud layer. However, the Federal Aviation Administration declined to investigate the incident because the UFO was not seen on radar. They termed it as a weather phenomenon.
Whether it's a third grader going up against the class bully or armies clashing in the battlefield, winning means being a step ahead. But in a world of technology where having the better weapon does not necessarily guarantee victory, how far are militaries willing to go to have the upper hand? Turns out, pretty far. From hazardous forts on mountaintops and impenetrable underground bunkers to remote man-made islands at sea and untraceable laboratories researching the most dangerous pathogens in existence, countries today go the extra mile to stay a step ahead. What are some of these places? Area 51. Along a dusty, unmarked road in the Nevada desert sits a gate with a chain-link fence, a boom gate, and intimidating trespassing signs. What's so special about it, you ask? Well, try to enter and you'll probably find a camouflaged soldier pointing a gun to your head before you can put your hands up. Sounds like something out of a movie, doesn't it? Such is the security of America's top secret military base, Area 51. What's hidden away in there? Pop culture says it's aliens. Ever since its inception, Area 51 has maintained a measure of mystery caused by bizarre lights twinkling strangely in the surrounding skies, fueling rumours of UFOs and alien testing in this uncharted, vast region. Some even say that the moon landing was filmed by the US government in this base. So, the question is, what is the mystery behind this legend? Well, it may not be aliens, but it's just as interesting. In the 1950s, during the Cold War, low-flying US spy planes over the USSR were at risk of being shot down. So in 1954, President Eisenhower approved the secret development of the U-2 aircraft, which could fly far above the watchful eyes of the Soviets. The government soon began to search for a testing and training site for the U-2 program, and set its eyes on an old World War II aerial gunnery range near a salt flat known as Groom Lake. On the map, this was designated as Area 51. This was a time when commercial aircrafts flew at heights between 10 and 20,000 feet, and military aircrafts at a maximum of 40,000 feet. So, when the newly developed U-2 flew at unheard altitudes of above 60,000 feet during its tests, people were shocked to spot something so foreign and unbelievable. Naturally, reports of UFO sightings started pouring in, but since Air Force officials were sworn to secrecy, the rumours grew into legends, and the base acquired near-mythical status of being a military base with an alien presence. But rumours apart, Area 51 is where some of the most advanced air technology has been developed for the American Air Force and military. After the U-2, the SR-71 Blackbird, Lockheed D-21, HAV Blue, and F-117 aircraft prototypes have all been developed and tested here. But for the most part, the secrets, mystery, and fascination remain. Indeed, it's no real surprise that millions responded to a Facebook post in June 2019 to raid Area 51 and go, "See them aliens!" Kapustin Yar. The United States is not the only one with a top-secret military base with rumours of alien presence. Kapustin Yar is Russia's very own Area 51. The legend of the base is laden with tales of extraterrestrial intelligence spun beyond belief. Originally created by the USSR for developing the Soviet space program, the military base became mired in accounts of incredibly detailed and elaborate alien sightings. Some even claim that the Soviet military force had clashed against extraterrestrial presence in this very vicinity in 1948, and a MiG fighter had managed to shoot down a UFO. Its remains were taken by the military and moved to an underground facility deep below Kapustin Yar. There, the ship was reverse-engineered by Soviet rocket scientists, possibly for the benefit of the Soviet space program, which, incidentally, commenced soon afterwards. In 1991, a declassified KGB document revealed that 7 military personnel at Kapustin Yar had witnessed a UFO hovering over the rocket weapons depot and successfully evaded any aircraft which tried to come near it. In 1992, Colonel Marina Popovich, wife of the then head of the Soviet Union Committee on UFOs, stated that 3 cigar-shaped flying saucers and a group of fireballs attacked Kapustin Yar and destroyed the launching pads and sites of ballistic and intercontinental missiles. Fearing retribution from the Soviet military command and the KGB, Colonel Popovich refrained from revealing the origin of the flying saucers. She admitted that the Soviet Union had fragments from the wreckages of 2 UFOs that had crashed over Estonia and Dalnogorsk. Whether true or not, the Kapustin Yar military base has been an enigma in recent decades. Porton Down. During World War I, in the Battle of Ypres, Belgium, in 1915, which was fought between Germany and the Allied powers, clouds of poisonous chlorine gas filled the air in the Allied trenches. It reacted with the water in the lungs of the 800 soldiers unlucky enough to inhale it, and produced hydrochloric acid. The burns that followed resulted in horrifyingly painful deaths. Angered by the use of such a weapon, Britain's Secretary of State for War, Lord Kitchener, immediately ordered the creation of a chemical weapon research facility called the War Department Experimental Research Ground, Porton. And thus was born Porton Down, based 5 miles outside Salisbury in Wiltshire, England. After designing the gas masks for the First World War in July 1915, Porton Down went on to counter the Soviet Union's nerve agent, sarin gas, with its own nerve gas called the venomous Agent X, which is several times more toxic. Just a pinhead-sized drop on the skin is enough to kill a man. At its peak, Porton Down was notorious for using a number of human volunteers or guinea pigs for this research. Since 1916, over 20,000 people have taken part in studies at the base. In 1953, after one of the sarin study volunteers, serviceman Ronald Madison, lost his life after being exposed to sarin gas, the authorities engaged in one of the biggest cover-ups of the Cold War. It was only in 2004 that a court ruled that Ronald Madison was killed unlawfully, and his family received a compensation of £100,000 from the Ministry of Defence. Today, Porton Down's laboratories divide their time between researching the world's most dangerous pathogens, Ebola, plague and anthrax among others, that can wipe us off the face of this planet, and assisting the armed forces with technical know-how of improvised explosive devices and ballistics. The work carried on in this secretive base has given the military a better understanding of how to defend against chemical and explosive attacks, though it has certainly come at a big financial cost. South China Sea bases, where China has established outposts near the Spratly Islands. Located in a disputed no-man's territory, their primary purpose is not military power projection and the deployment of weapons, but information power. The concept of information power is not about studying demographics, hacking social media, influencing people, or spinning the narrative of a conflict, but about knowing the battlefield. This is preserving information for one's own weapons, while simultaneously denying any and all information to the adversary. The outposts are now hardened military bases that give China de facto control of what it regards as its waters. What we do know is that a few years ago there were just reefs in shallow water near the Spratly Islands, and now there are bases which are nothing short of man-made land masses. Pine Gap. Initially christened for space research in 1966 in the throes of the Cold War, Pine Gap directed its resources to the War on Terror in 2001. Its location, which is approximately 18 kilometres southwest of Alice Springs in the centre of Australia, is strategically significant, since it controls United States spy satellites as they pass over 1/3 of the globe, including China, the Asian parts of Russia, and the Middle East. The station is partly run by the US Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, the US National Security Agency, the NSA, and the US National Reconnaissance Office, the NRO. Operations at Pine Gap have always been a closely guarded secret. From the remoteness of its location to the closed ranks around what takes place there, it even has a secret room where no Australians are allowed to enter. The facilities at the base consist of a humongous computer complex and 38 radomes protecting radio dishes. The ground control is a processing station for geosynchronous satellites engaged in signals intelligence collection. It has been active in supporting every US war since the 9/11 attacks. In popular culture, there's even a show on a platform based on what life is like inside Pine Gap. What do you think? Is there more to these military bases that meets the eye?
As kids, we all at some time or other wanted to be astronauts after watching videos of space sailors flying about in spacecrafts. While living in space sounds exciting, it has its challenges. Most things we take for granted on Earth can be quite complicated in space. With space travel becoming a real possibility in the near future, let's look at what it's like to live in space. You curious? What kind of food options do you have in space? There is a variety of space food available today, particularly on the International Space Station, where one can choose from hundreds of different dishes. Astronauts are sent up to the International Space Station ISS with their own food supplies, which consist of dehydrated snacks and other thermostabilized and packaged food items. Like most things sent into space, weight is a major consideration, since it costs about $10,000 for every pound sent out. The nutritional value and shelf life of the food are also important factors, since it must provide everything astronauts need to stay healthy for a long time. Where does the water supply come from? Water supply on the ISS is limited, which forces astronauts to get a little creative when it comes to keeping their water supply well stocked. They have the water they leave Earth with, but that can't last forever, and resupplies from Earth are expensive. So, astronauts on the ISS collect their wastewater, including urine, sweat, and even the moisture from their breath. This is then run through a filter on board to remove any impurities or contaminants in it. The filtered water can then be used for drinking, washing, and rehydrating food. That sounds quite disgusting, but NASA says the recycled water on the ISS is actually cleaner than what most of us drink on the Earth. How do you sleep on a spacecraft? Sleeping in space is also unusual. Astronauts can't sleep on a normal bed. Since there is very little gravity, they would float around while snoozing. They sleep in sleeping bags that are strapped to the walls of their respective sleep stations. The sleep stations are phone booth-sized rooms that can also hold a computer, books, clothes, and other items to make them feel more at home. What about using the restroom? How do you go to the bathroom in space? This is one question astronauts get asked quite often. Astronauts need to strap themselves to the toilets so that they don't float away. The toilets in space use differential air pressure to dispose of waste. What do sunrises and sunsets look like from space? You probably think you've seen some beautiful sunrises and sunsets here on Earth, but the views from Space Station are truly impressive. It's not just the quality, but quantity of these events from space that is surprising. Astronauts sometimes experience up to 16 sunsets within 24 hours while moving around the Earth. Can you survive in space without a spacesuit? Yes, it is possible to survive in space without a spacesuit, but only for a short period of time. If you did take that bold step into space with proper protection, you wouldn't die instantly. You'll pass out after about 15 seconds. 90 seconds after exposure, you'll die from asphyxiation. Your body will eventually freeze solid since it's extremely cold in space, so you better not forget your spacesuit. Why are the spacesuits orange and white? NASA did not choose the colours orange and white for spacesuits to make a fashion statement. These colours were chosen after comprehensive tests and experiments. Astronauts wear the orange-coloured Advanced Crew Escape Suits, ACES, while the space shuttle is ascending, entering into space, or returning back to Earth. This shade of orange, also known as international orange, is highly visible against any landscape such as the sea. The white extravehicular activity, EVA suits, are worn by astronauts during spacewalks. How does your body change in space? Astronauts are floating around the space station for months at a time. Without gravity pushing down on the vertebrae, the spine straightens out, making them taller. Astronauts grow up to 3% whilst living in microgravity. The weightless environment also makes it easier to lift hundreds of pounds in space. Can you take hot showers and baths in space? Showers and baths are out of the question in space. Astronauts use sponges or washcloths to wash themselves. They also use special soaps and shampoos that don't need to be rinsed off to conserve water. They also have to be careful while shaving or combing their hair, since loose hair can float and be inhaled or get in someone's eye.
Try, for a moment, to wonder about the infinite variables that have all come together in a chain of blind luck to land you in front of the screen at this very moment to watch this video. For you to exist at all is a coincidence. Had your parents not met, or had that one particular sperm out of 100 million not fertilized that one egg, you would not have been born. Seems kind of unsettling, doesn't it? But that's just the tip of the iceberg, because just like mankind, the existence of Earth in the grand scheme of the universe is also no more than just a happy accident. Indeed, our planet is just the right distance from the Sun, has a core that's just radioactive enough to keep spinning and provide a magnetic field, a moon that's just big enough to stabilize its rotation, an ozone layer that's just thick enough to shield us from radiation, and is located in a safe harbor in the smack middle of two violent spiraling arms of our galaxy, the Milky Way. If any of these variables would have been different, the Earth and mankind would never have existed. But, as is far more common in the universe, other planets haven't been so lucky and are far from the dream of supporting life. And many of them are bizarre enough to make even the most seasoned astrophysicists gape in awe as they mock the laws of physics and raise even more questions than answers. What are some of these planets, and what would you have experienced if you were on one of them? Let's have a look. YouCurious? Discover more. Know more. COROT-7b, Two Hells in One. Located in the constellation of Monceros, which is about 489 light-years away from Earth, the two sides of COROT-7b are as different as night and day. Literally. The planet is 60 times closer to its parent star than we are to our Sun. And as if that wasn't enough, it is totally locked, which means that it revolves around its parent star the same way our moon revolves around Earth, i.e., with one side perpetually facing towards the light and the other side facing away, engulfed in darkness. Well, we can all guess how this story ends, can't we? COROT-7b's sunny side reaches a sizzling 4,700 degrees Fahrenheit, which is hot enough to melt and vaporize rock, cause pebbles to form when they condense, and rain down in a violent rocky hailstorm. But if you're stuck on the other side of the planet, you're sure to get something of frostbite, because the dark half of this two-faced planet can reach a mind-numbingly low 392 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. Gliese 436b, Ice on Fire. This planet is one of the most exotic contradictions that we know of, and has repeatedly managed to leave many a scientist speechless. It orbits a star located in the constellation of Leo, and sports something never seen before: fiery ice. You heard that right. Gliese 436b is a mere 2.5 million miles away from its parent star, which is too close for comfort, yet has an icy surface which not only doesn't melt, but remains perpetually on fire. In other words, the ice is not allowed to melt. This leaves the planet covered in ice, which is enveloped in flames for eternity. 55 Cancri E, Diamonds Are Forever. If we added up all the wealth that ever existed, it would be like a drop in the ocean compared to the value of this planet. That's right, 55 Cancri E, which is twice the size of Earth and is located about 41 light-years away in the constellation of Cancer, is famous for one thing. About 1/3 of the planet is diamond, which has resulted from atmospheric carbon reacting with the heat and pressure from its parent star. What's that worth, you ask? A pretty big chunk of change, to be honest. 26.9 nonillion. That's 26.9 followed by 30 zeros, in case you're wondering. To put it into perspective, our good old Earth's GDP in 2019 was about $142 trillion, which means that the Diamond Planet is worth about 200 quadrillion times more than the Earth's GDP, and a mere 0.2% of the planet's diamonds would handily pay off all the debts held by our world's governments. TRES-2b, Vantablack. Vantablack, invented in 2014, is one of the darkest substances known to mankind, which absorbs up to 99.965% of the light which falls on it. But there's one planet which has been doing pretty much the same thing for a few billion years, TRES-2b. Located about 750 light-years away from our solar system, in the constellation of Draco, TRES-2b is the darkest planet ever found, and reflects less than 1% of the light which falls on it. In fact, it is so dark that it is a miracle we even found this planet, because its light was so scarce. However, it is still a mystery as to why the planet is so dark, a mystery that may never be solved. This raises an important question. How many planets have we missed simply because they're too dark? And are some of them closer to the Earth than we think? HD 189733b. It's raining glass. Located 64.5 light-years away from Earth in the constellation of Vulpecula, and perhaps one of the most interesting planets on this list, HD 189733b is a planet on which it rains glass. Sideways. At 7 times the speed of sound. You heard that right. This hellish planet's winds can reach up to 5,400 miles per hour. HD 189733b's wind pushes the glass at such speeds that the shards fly through the air horizontally, slicing up everything in their path. So, the next time you're splashing about in the rain, take a moment to savour it, because you're lucky that it's water falling from the sky. Kepler 16b, the real-life Tatooine. Remember the planet Tatooine, which was home to the legendary Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, and revolved around 2 stars which spun together to form a binary star system? What if we told you a planet much like that actually exists? You heard that right. Kepler 16b, located 200 light-years away in the constellation of Cygnus in our very own Milky Way galaxy, is a planet which revolves around a binary 2-star system, much like Tatooine. But hold your horses. You won't find any Star Wars droids here. That's right, although it may look like Tatooine, Kepler 16b cannot support life. This is because its atmosphere is comprised of hydrogen, methane, and small amounts of helium. WASP-12b, the egg. This planet is almost as dark as TRES-2b, but that's not its most bizarre feature. Located about 1,410 light-years away in the constellation of Auriga, WASP-12b is about 1.8 times bigger than Jupiter and is too uncomfortably close to its parent star, only a mere 2,115,000 miles away. The gravity from its parent star stretches this planet into an elongated oblong shape, like an egg, Gliese 581c, living on the edge. About 20 light-years away in the constellation of Libra sits a planet which is quite similar to the hellish two-faced COROT-7b. Known as Gliese 581c, this planet is also tidally locked with its parent star, with one side experiencing scorching heat and the other side frozen in sub-zero temperatures. However, there's one difference between the two planets. Astronomers have theorized that much like Earth, it has the potential to support life. How is this even possible? The answer is equally surprising. Between the two extreme weathers of the planet sits a narrow strip of land called the Terminator Zone, in which the temperature may be just right to support life. WASP-17b, the Big Puff. This one is a bit of a doozy, as it has more than one surprise to spill. Located in the constellation of Scorpius, about 550 light-years away from Earth, WASP-17b is a complete anomaly. So much so that we can't figure out why it behaves the way it does, or why it is the way it is, as it is unlike any other planet that we've studied. So, what about this planet is so strange? Well, for starters, it's twice as big as Jupiter, but only half its mass, which renders its density quite low for a planet of that size, which is why it is known as a puffy planet. Secondly, and even more strangely, it's the first planet ever discovered which revolves around its parent star in a retrograde orbit, meaning in a direction opposite to the rotation of its host star. Gliese 1214b, the Water World. Remember the water planet from the movie Interstellar? This one is quite similar. Located about 48 light-years away in the constellation of Ophiuchus, Gliese 1214b is a huge water world thrice the size of Earth, in which water contributes to 10% of its mass. By contrast, Earth's water contributes to only 0.05% of its mass, so we can guess what would happen if we decided to go for a swim on this planet. Gliese 1214b is thought to have oceans reaching depths of as much as 1,600 kilometers. To put that into perspective, the deepest point in the Earth's oceans is the Mariana Trench, which is only 11 kilometers deep. Needless to say that as a species who have just explored about 5% of our own waters, we cannot even begin to imagine what horrors may lie within the depths of this ocean planet. Our solar system is a bizarre place, made up of the Sun and everything else that orbits around it. Scientists have discovered and named 8 planets in our solar system. We probably believe we know quite a lot about them already, but YouCurious brings you some interesting and unique facts. YouCurious? Discover more. Know more. Did you know that our solar system is one of over 500 solar systems in the entire Milky Way galaxy? Any guesses how old it is? Over 4.5 billion years old, that's right. So, are you curious to know more about our planets in this solar system? Well then, let's get started. Only 15% of stars in the galaxy host planetary systems, and one of those stars is, of course, our own Sun. Revolving around the Sun are 8 planets, and they are divided into 2 categories, terrestrial and Jovian. This division is based on their compositions. Terrestrial planets are Mercury, Earth, Venus, and Mars. As these planets are made of rocky material, they have very few or no moons. They don't have rings, and their surfaces are solid, and they are relatively smaller. Mercury. The smallest and the closest planet to the Sun, and yet has an icy North Pole. It's the planet with the greatest differences between day and night temperatures. The temperature of Mercury reaches 450 degrees Celsius during the day, and at night, the temperature drops to minus 170 degrees Celsius. There are a large number of craters on its surface, caused by collisions with meteorites and comets. A year on Mercury goes by fast. Because it's the closest planet to the Sun, it doesn't take very long to go all the way around, and it does complete one revolution around the Sun in just 88 Earth days. If you lived on Mercury, you'd have a birthday every 3 months. Venus. It is the second closest planet to the Sun, and the hottest planet of our solar system. The daytime temperature reaches up to 465 degrees Celsius. It has a very thick atmosphere of carbon dioxide, extensive lava flows, and clouds made of sulfuric acid. Venus is the most similar planet to the Earth, with its size, structure, and orbital movements. It is the planet with the most volcanoes, with over 1,600 volcanic formations, and Venus does not have any satellites. Earth, our home. Right next to the planet of fire is the planet of water and life. It is the only planet with an atmosphere suitable for life in the solar system. The rotation of the world slows down by 1.7 milliseconds every century, causing the days to lengthen. Did you know the world gets 1.5 centimeters away from the Sun every year? The Earth is the only planet on which a complete solar eclipse can be observed in the solar system. Since we live here, one might think we already know everything about Earth, but that is not true. There is a lot we can learn about our home planet. As you are watching this video, there are over 2,666 artificial satellites orbiting the Earth right now, taking pictures, measurements, and helping us communicate, and much more. And what else is special about planet Earth? Well, we're here. Good enough, right? Mars. Did you know that Mars has the largest and most long-lasting dust storms of the whole solar system? It is called the Red Planet due to its dusty structure with oxidized iron in the atmosphere. The average temperature on this planet is minus 63 degrees Celsius. It has the highest mountain in the solar system, which is about 3 times the size of Mount Everest. It also has the deepest and longest valley, which is 4,000 kilometers long. Although the length of a day on Mars is similar to ours, 687 Earth days make up one Mars year. Quite similar to our home planet? Well, not really, but scientists believe that Mars probably supported life once upon a time, 3.7 billion years ago. It has been proven that there was liquid water on its surface in the past. Over to the Jovian planets that include gas giants, Jupiter and Saturn, and ice giants, Uranus and Neptune. All these planets have multiple moons, no solid surface, they support ring systems, and are immense in size. Jupiter. Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system. The diameter of Jupiter is 3 times the size of the Earth. It has a huge red dot. It is believed to have formed by a storm that lasted more than 300 years. Jupiter is actually a mass of gas consisting of hydrogen and helium. There is a huge ocean of liquid hydrogen on this planet as well. According to the records, a comet hit Jupiter in 1994 and was destroyed in its atmosphere. Saturn. Saturn is the second largest planet in our solar system. Saturn is a massive ball made up mostly of hydrogen and helium. A giant hexagonal structure, which is thought to be composed of gases, revolves around the North Pole of Saturn. Saturn has 7 rings that can be seen even with a simple telescope. One day on Saturn is 10 hours and 42 minutes, while 1 year on Saturn is approximately 29 Earth years. Uranus. Uranus is the 3rd largest planet in the solar system. It has a unique tilt. This is because it collided with an Earth-sized planet immediately after its formation. Uranus also rotates in the opposite direction. While 1 Uranus day is 17 Earth hours, 1 Uranus year is equal to 84 Earth years. It is one of the coldest planets in the solar system, with a surface temperature of minus 224 degrees Celsius. Neptune. The outermost planet of our solar system and the coldest one. Neptune is the planet that hosts the most violent winds of the solar system. Its winds, which can reach 2,100 kilometers per hour, are above the speed of sound. 1 day on Neptune is 16 hours as compared to Earth time. 1 year is equal to 165 Earth years. Neptune is made up mostly of ice. Voyager 2 is the only spacecraft that has closely approached Neptune.